All right. Well, hey, look, I got the distinct honor here of having the man, the myth, the miracle, the legend, the enforcer, the assassin, Mr. Shawn Ray himself join me on the CO2 rundown. Brother, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely, man. I just was finishing breakfast with my family over here. The calm before the storm here on Thursday in Waikiki. We have our athletes meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock at Hyatt. And then on Saturday, we got Hawaii's biggest event of the year at the Waikiki Shell starting at 9 a.m.
That's it, man. The Shawn Rays Hawaiian Classic, in which I'm entering, right? I'm going to be entering the Masters Division, men's physique, my very first show ever. And so I just wanted to personally thank you, man, for providing this platform and this opportunity for, not just the local people here, but, I know people fly down to enter. It's a big event. And so I just wanted to thank you for providing an opportunity, and coming to the islands.
Let me give some perspective, because I'm not doing this by myself. I got inspired by the late Dot Mitz Kawashima, who brought me here back in 1988. I'm not sure if you were born at that time. But
yeah, 82.
Okay. So in 1988, in 1987, I won the national championships, and Dot Mitz had already been in production working with Arnold Schwarzenegger here on the island, doing their, I'm not sure what the name of it was called. I don't want to say Paradise Cup. I think it might just be Hawaiian Classic.
I think it was.
They were doing shows many years before I actually arrived here. I'm just one of many top athletes at the time to come out here. They bring out the top athletes. I mean, I made a post on Instagram, Facebook, and all these other bodybuilders had been connected to Hawaii through Dot Mitz by them bringing them over. Got the Schlierkamp, Sharon Bruneau from Canada, Debbie McKnight out of Alabama, Lee Labrada and his wife out of Texas, Lee Haney. They brought literally at the who's who. I remember they brought Anya Schreiner all the way from Germany to share their physique, their body of work with the people here in Hawaii. And of course, they've long since passed on, and I used to see them all the time at the Arnold Classic in Ohio. They're very good friends with Arnold. Somewhere along the way in my contest promotions, I got an opportunity to come back here to Hawaii about 6 years ago to be a master of ceremonies for a show. I didn't like the way it was run. I didn't like the disjointment of what I thought was the NPC, because, a big part of my living is traveling around the world and seeing shows. So I see promoters that are really promoting. I see some promoters that are not promoting so well. And I thought Dot Mitz would not be happy with the state of affairs here in Hawaii. And I started talking to the gym owners and the athletes, and I saw some things that put some lipstick on it to make it look prettier. So I took on the challenge and contacted Jim Mannion, who is the president of the NPC, knew Dot Mitz very well. And he gave me the challenge, and I rose to the challenge the same way I did with all those Mr. Olympia runs I had back in the 90s. And came out of the box with Hawaii's biggest show in 25 years. And of course, last year we had COVID and shut everything down, but we're back. We're 243 entries strong, with almost 100 crossovers. And we're bringing it to the Tom Moffitt Outdoor Arena. It's never been done there before. The Shawn Rays Classic has moved around from the Modern Hotel to the Convention Center over to the Hawaiian Hilton. And now we're going to try an outdoor thing in light of the whole COVID. For a whole nother experience for bodybuilders. And again, I'm all about creating these opportunities that Dot Mitz created for me. So I do not want to take credit for what's happening. The Hawaiian people have responded. The more they respond, the more I'm able to give. I partnered with a doctor who is my partner. He's bringing professional classic physique here. We got $15,000 in prize money. Next year, we're going to add pro bikini to this weekend. And so things are alive and well here in Hawaii, and I got to give my hat and my credit, my inspiration and motivation to the late Dot Mitz Kawashima.
Wow. And I just got to point this out to everyone, right? You just kind of breezed over it, Shawn. I don't know if I think you were one of maybe the only one, 12 straight top 5 finishes in a Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, that's a record.
That's a record, and that is unbelievable. And that just speaks to your character because being that this is my very first time that I'm doing bodybuilding, I'm a former football player, which I know you are as well. We'll talk about that. Bodybuilding, men's physique, it takes a different discipline, a different mindset, and to do it at your level, the top of the top, best of the best, And to be consistent for that long, it speaks volumes of your character. And that is why you make a great promoter, because you're about the details. That's why you're doing this. You know, this is why you got hired by ESPN to speak on behalf and to be you know, an analyst doing, you know, talking about bodybuilding. And this is why you travel the world talking it, because you are all about the details. And to be an elite level athlete, I don't care what sport you're in, you have to be detail oriented. And so I just want to reiterate that is unbelievable. Congrats on an amazing career, and congrats on what you're doing now, man. I mean, this is big. This is very big, and I'm excited about it.
I think, Chad, what it is when you find what you love doing, it's not work, right? You just try to find more creative ways to make it even more enjoyable. I traveled the world over, emceeing shows, being guests at shows, posing at shows, and even competing at shows. And in retirement, 20 years, it's a lot of work. If you don't know anything about putting on a show, there's a lot of moving parts: the venue, the trophies, the expediters, the judges, the awards, the entry forms, the responding to the emails, and instantaneously on Instagram. I mean, these people want answers today and tomorrow. They don't want to wait. Everything has to be bop, bop, bop. And you have to, you know, constantly remind people of when and where they need to show up, and insurance forms and sanction fees and plane tickets and hotels. There's a whole lot of moving parts that I'm not going to complain about, because it's like an artist. You get that blank canvas and you have all of your colors and your paints, and it's up to you to create whatever image we're going to see and show the world where your creative mind can take you. And I'm a sum total of all the people that I've worked with and for. I'm a sum total of all the things I've witnessed and seen. And the first and foremost, I'm a fan. And when you say this is your first experience, I'm glad you chose my show. I remember my first experience. It was baptism by fire. It was a contest that after 6 months of lifting weights, my mentor, who introduced me to bodybuilding, John Brown, threw me into a show. And his emphasis at the time was on posing. I won the best poser award. I got second place in the teenage category. But having the experience of that first one made me want to come back and try it again. And of course, 2 weeks later, I won my first competition, and I won the best poser award again. And I beat the guy that beat me. And so that started everything that is Shawn Ray. Whatever I have to owe to my bodybuilding career has a lot to do with my first experience competing on that stage. I'm 56 years old, and we're talking about a 17-year-old memory that is as fresh in my mind as it was then as it is now. And I know that with every Shawn Ray production I put on, there are first-timers that are going to be a little bit intimidated. It's different when you pose in front of your friends and home in front of the mirror. And now you got to go out on stage half naked in front of people that know you, people that have never seen you in this capacity, against people that may have more experience. And listen, not everyone can win their first competition. I'm certainly not a winner in my first competition, but the experience sometimes propels you. I mean, the reason I was able to place top 5 in the Mr. Olympia for a dozen years is because I was losing. And losing teaches you something about the perspective of what it's like to win. I spent my whole teenage and junior life winning shows, and then I became an adult and I got in this hunt to be the world's best. And only one person can be the world's best, only one. And I'm going up against all of the world's best that I can see physically in a magazine or on a VHS tape at the time. So I knew what I was coming up against, and it can be very intimidating. And you see every day the constant reminder of a guy that's 5'10", 250 pounds, and you got to try to find a way to beat him. And when you lose to him, you go back to the drawing board, you try again, and you try again. And these different angles I was taking, I'm also going up against future Hall of Fame bodybuilders trying to do the same thing as myself. Flex Wheeler, Kevin Brony, Nasser Somebody, Vince Taylor. I mean, the list is long when I came up of guys that are Hall of Fame worthy, but don't have a Sandow trophy. And we were all left wanting. For 14 consecutive years, I was finishing behind Lee Haney and Dorian Yates, 2 guys that have 14 Olympias consecutively. So I got a very good perspective of what it's like to almost win, but sometimes almost winning is what continues to get you out of bed. And it's also the very thing that drives people away, because they're not, you know, when you're not winning, sometimes it's disillusional, and then you move on to something else. When I got to that point where I realized I couldn't win and it became work, then I took everything that I knew, all the experiences that I had, and I wanted to try to find a way to refine it and also give back and also find a way to monetize it and turn it into a business. Because as a competitor, it's hard to do all these multiple things. But now I'm not training in the gym twice a day for 4 hours at a time, or 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. I had the time to become a promoter, get more creative with the business alliances that I had. And all of those things have brought me here. One of the things I'm most proud of is promoting my very first pro event, which happened to be the 202-pound division in 2007 that David Henry won. He went on to become the very first 202 Olympia champion. That gave birth to the 212 division. And we know these great champions in the 212. Currently, Derek Lunsford. Prior to that, it was Sean Clarita. Kevin English had won the 212 for 202 for 3 consecutive years. James Flex Lewis had won it for 7 years. People have created a life out of winning the 202 that became the 212 because I helped bring it to fruition. And then, of course, one of my best promotions was when Phil Heath won his very first pro show, the Shawn Ray Colorado Pro, and then Kai Green the year after, coming from last place behind Phil Heath in 06 to winning it in 2007, having the Best Poser Award, which he was able to take that money, parlay that to his next victory in New York, and then ultimately become a 3-time Honor Classic champion for Kai Green, and of course Phil Heath, 7-time Olympia winner. My fingerprints are on all of that stuff. It really, when I look back, it really makes me feel like I've accomplished something and been a part of something, not only creating it, but also witnessing it in the front row capacity. These shows like this in Hawaii, I don't know whoever wins, where they're going to wind up, but I'm going to be hanging on for the ride. And again, it puts me in that fan position, cheering for these athletes to continue to the next level, to the nationals. Someone's going to qualify for the Olympia next year by winning the Classic disease. And they will wind up on that Olympia stage, and they'll wind up there because of the Shawn Ray Hawaiian Classic.
Yeah, man. Wow. I mean, just listening to you talk, like I'm excited. Like I'm just motivated for all of these athletes that are aspiring to be the next, right? And
right.
You just listening to more of your story, you are a champion. You may not have finished first, you may not have, but you talked about the drive, the hunger to keep coming back because you wanted that top spot, you wanted to get it, but the drive, that relentlessness is what is allowing you, is the reason why you're successful now. It's the reason why you've been able to have your hands in all these other things and be a part of so much of other people's successes, right? It was because of the decision you made to be relentless in your pursuit. And so, this is a sports show. So there's a lot of athletes that watch this. And guys, the people that are listening right now, this isn't just about bodybuilding. This is any sport. This is life. And this is what it takes to be successful, period.
Yeah,
Relentless pursuit.
I think a lot of people forget about the journey. And I've talked all my career about the journey, which you can lose sight of when you're dieting and you're not winning. Your winning is the end game. Everyone wants to win. But when you have the perspective that the show is over, and when I say like that, the show for me starts in January and is ending in September. So that's literally the 3/4 of a year of my life that I dedicated 13 years for the pursuit of that title. And when you lose, now it's about perspective. I understood that my odds, and I said this when I won the Nationals. I said, what are you going to do now that you're a pro? I said, well, I want to travel the world. I want to be in the magazines. I want to be like Bob Harris. I felt like I arrived. I won the Nationals, which Bob Harris had won, and Lee Haney before him, and Mike Christian, and Phil Williams, and Gary Stridham. Listen, I can rattle these things off like it was yesterday, but we're all the way back in 1982, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I arrived in 1987. And when I got there, they said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to travel the world and be in the magazines, and I want to be rich. Isn't that every kid's dream at 22 years old, 21 years old? And to know that and state at the time, I'll probably lose more than I win, was paying homage to the level of competition I knew that I was going to be walking into. I was graduating college with a degree, basically, going into the real world to set out on my own and create something by myself. I was either going to work for someone or I was going to be my own entity, which I chose my own entity, and it became Shawn Ray Productions. And along the way, it left the freedom to align myself with different companies, different businesses, and also the independence to choose when I wanted to compete, where I wanted to travel, how hard I wanted to work, or how little I wanted to work. And through trial and error, the journey took me all around the world. It opened up. It's like opening up a book. And back then, some of the books, they don't have pictures. So you have to use your mind to illustrate the storyline, to see if the writer's going to take you on these journeys. And for me, I was a big book reader. And along the way, in college, I used to do book reports. And I wrote on Martin Luther King. I wrote on Nelson Mandela. And so to be able to travel the world, and then bodybuilding puts me in front of the burning flame, the eternal flame that Martin Luther King has in Atlanta, right there with his wife, Coretta Scott. I'm standing in front of this 1985. I win the team nationals in Atlanta. Martin Luther King, his memorial is right down the street. I could walk to it. I'm standing there going, wow, my bodybuilding brought me to this end. I won the nationals and I could go see this. Then somewhere in 2003 or 4, I wound up in South Africa. I'm there on Robben Island. I got my hands on the bars that Nelson Mandela was held captive for 27 years of his life. I did 3 book reports on him, 1 in high school, 2 in college. And there I am looking at how small I had the visual of Table Mountain and Robben Island and the prison and the rock quarry and Nelson Mandela. And I have my hands on the same bars that he's looking at. The cell was 6 feet long. I mean, pretty much only had enough room to lay down, stand vertical and lay down. There was no room to move around for 27 years. And the rock quarry that I wrote about in detail, researching books in the library, I'm looking at it. And I got an orator, a tour guide telling me about the time that Nelson Mandela spent there. Then I'm at the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and I'm in Brazil at the Statue of Cristo. Bodybuilding is so much more than winning. And while some people can go on social media and go, oh, you only won 2 shows in your life. Really? I won 2 shows? I don't even think about the shows I won, the Arnold Classic and the Pro Ironman. I was trying to be Mr. Olympia. And so as far as I was concerned, the Arnold Classic and the Ironman were irrelevant because the Olympia is why I started bodybuilding.
That's the Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but the things that happened in between on the challenge, on the way there, I was able to create a life. I was able to buy a house. I was able to buy cars. I was able to take care of my father and do things for my mom. And now I'm doing things for people that it wouldn't happen if I wasn't here in a position of wealth, of knowledge, journey, and information to create from scratch something that didn't exist at the time when I came to Hawaii. So I keep winning in small ways, and you will have your people and your detractors that will deter you, because that's what bodybuilding is. Bodybuilding is really is a mind fuck. People will tell you what you can't do. People will tell you how stupid you are, how selfish it is. And along that journey, you'll find who you really are. And in finding who I really am, I get to witness the growth of other individuals, the start of careers, the end of careers, people going into the business world. I started bodybuilding. I was looking at guys like Ela Brada and Rich Gaspari and Lee Haney. These guys became my adversaries on the stage, and they're my lifelong friends today. Guys, I have their phone number. I've been to their houses. I've been to their place of businesses. They've supported me. I've supported them. These were guys I saw in the magazines as a teenager. I mean, it was a million miles away from my economy. And so I make myself readily available for that guy that's coming in for the first time with wonderment and excitement, kind of trying to figure it all out. But I know I was there. I was that teenager. I was that first-time competitor. I was that fan. And then I became, an industry insider and an industry leader. And all of my tutelage came from who? I'm working with Joe Weider for 18 years. I'm working with Steve Fleckman at Muscular Development for 10 years. We're working with the new owner of the Olympia, Jake Wood, and coming up alongside Jim Mannion and watching all these Olympia winners, Dexter Jackson, Brandon Curry, Big Ramy. These are people that, I came up with. So with all the negativity that we have with social media, I'm reminded of the journey that keeps me focused on trying to at least give back, because I can't take these experiences with me.
Wow. I mean, I think mic drop right there, Shawn. Just amazing. You are a huge motivator, inspirator. I feel that and know that. If people want to follow you, maybe just learn something from you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Instagram's the fastest, easiest form of communication. Shawn Ray, IFB Pro. And, you can go to my website, which is shawnray.fitness for information, shirts and stuff like that, and some of my writings. But I'm the editor-in-chief of Digital Muscle, digitalmuscle.com. You can find me there, putting up interviews and where are they now, stuff like that. Again, in retirement, I'm working with companies like Mutant Nation. I'm working with Fascia Blaster. I'm working with Mr. Tortilla. I'm working with Old School Bodybuilding Clothing. I get a chance to get outside and help other businesses grow. I'm on the board of Vivera Pharmaceuticals, which is helping to fight this whole COVID thing and the addiction problems that people have using drugs. And again, I still have that ability to continue to write stories and things like that, which is my passion. I wrote for Flex Magazine, Muscle and Fitness Magazine, Muscular Development, Iron Man, Muscle Mag. They're no longer in existence. But Muscular Development is, and I'm on the cover of that magazine right now, 20 years in retirement with an 8-page spread, courtesy of Steve Bleckman. So I'm out there. I'm easy to find.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. Congrats on all your success, brother. Thank you so much for joining me here on the show. This will be, one of the best ones. I'm gonna tell you that, because hey, this is something special. It's something special for me, because I'm entering, the Shawn Ray Hawaiian Classic. It's gonna be a great time, and so thank you for that. Thank you for your time, and brother, continue to do great things, man. Continue to do what you do, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. 48 hours. We'll see you at the Shell here in Waikiki.
That's it. Waikiki Shell. Mahalo.